The conversation continues.
Americans across this country are sick and tired of the unaccounted for spending.
On today's News Talk Radio, TNT.
All right, we are here with my dear friend, Uncle Warren. Oh, really quickly, before I introduce Uncle Warren, the Assange letter that I mentioned at the top of the show, I meant to tell you, if you would like to read more about that, Dave DeCamp did a great write-up at that over at antiwar.com. So go check that out. Okay, our guest for the hour is my dear friend, Uncle Warren. I have been trying to get him back on the show for a while now, but he has the audacity to have a life, so it's taken some time. Warren comes to us over from War Deer Entertainment, where he hosts the show Extra Bulla, which you can find across various platforms. You can find links to all of that and ways to support his work over on Twitter, which is at WDearman, and it's DEARMAN, not like deer the animal. And as always, you can find links to all of that stuff over on my Substack as well. Uncle Warren, it is about time, my friend.
I know, right? I thought you were gonna screw me on this sandwich deal, right? This is an ongoing saga, my friend. I didn't know if TNT Radio knew this, but your program has a story arc when it comes to me. Yes. You may not with others, but definitely that sandwich is the goal. But also to see you, dear. How are you?
I'm doing very well. And for those of you that don't know, or you haven't listened when Warren has been a guest on the show before, he has been a guest several times. I think this is visit number 7. And he has decided that when he gets to appearance number 10, I owe him a sandwich. So he's very close. He's in the home stretch. He's on his way to getting that sandwich. And I'm going to get you a good sandwich too, not like a Subway. Well, I don't know if you like Subway. I guess that's fine. But, get you a good sandwich, like a really good quality. You live in New York. They got good sandwiches. It'll be fine. All right, my friend. So there's a lot going on. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, it's not about the destination. It's the journey. So I have no expectation of a free sandwich, but I like the fact that there could be a possibility of one. I've been disappointed in my life, Misty. So I'm just going to play this cautiously, but thank you. I really would like.
There will be a sandwich, my friend. I'm committed to this bit 100%. Okay. So there's a lot to talk about. And frankly, I'm kind of using you too, because you always make me laugh, even when we have to talk about difficult subject matter. And frankly, I need to laugh. It is, things are very dark out there these days. Not that they aren't always, but they're particularly dark right now. And so you and I, when we talk, very often we talk about propaganda and narrative management and all of that stuff. And holy cow, are we seeing a whole lot of that going on right now? I mean, Warren, it's intense out there, right?
Well, the Ukraine propaganda was the dress rehearsal, but they say the United States is the most propagandized country in the world, but it's definitely Israel, because they get you from birth, man. They indoctrinate you into all the hatred, all the whatever the religious context or what have you. But yeah, it's the fact that, and that's why I don't have like a hatred for these people. I have a hatred for the acts that are going on, definitely, right? Yeah. But we have propagandized people in this country too that we're like, what the hell is wrong with you? But we don't hate them because we think they're evil. We're disappointed because they're not willing to get past that ignorance level to get to the real knowledge, right? They're comfortable in their own little bubbles. We talk about that all the time.
Yeah. And propaganda is a hell of a drug. And listen, as somebody who studies it regularly, I understand. And that's it. Like, I'm like you. I don't hate the people. I think what they think is repugnant, but I also realize that they, as you said, in Israel, they get you at birth. And if anybody is curious about what exactly I'm talking about, go watch Abby Martin's video that she did where she walked around the streets of, I think, Tel Aviv, and she interviews Israelis about what they think about Palestinians. And it is horrific. I mean, some of the things that they say, they really genuinely do not see them as human beings or as people or as anything even remotely close to having equal footing on this earth as they do. And that's why I honestly just feel bad for them that they've been led down that path. And I will say, Warren, I genuinely hate the Zionist leadership. No question about it. They're evil people, no question. It's horrific.
They did. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And, this has been in the making for at least 75 years, probably a lot longer than that. I'm not too up on the whole history of it. as far as like how far it goes back with, especially like the Zionists. That's the people we're talking about here who are brainwashing the Israelis. Now, I just want to make it clear that their hatred and the acts that they're doing to these people, to the Palestinians, that there's no excuse for that. I'm sorry if you're ignorant. That's still no excuse for doing what you're doing to these people. It's 2023. You have access to spaces like where we're at here to provide alternate information that the mainstream. If you think the mainstream media is still telling you the truth at this point, you are part of the cult, or you are just there is really something mentally wrong in your cognitive functions.
Yeah,
it's just so
no
blatant
question.
now. It's just so blatant.
It really is, Warren, and it's always fascinating to me because a lot of the people who buy into the Zionist narrative or whatever you want to call it, they are so good on other things. Like they understood Ukraine, they understood Syria, they got COVID, and then this thing comes along and suddenly their ability to think critically flies out the window, and it's very frustrating because but I will say too, at the same time that I have been disappointed in a lot of people, I've also been unbelievably pleasantly surprised by others. Like there are some people that I thought for sure were going to be wrong on this. And I was really just like cringing because I'm like, oh, I really like this person and this is going to be awful. And then they come out with like the best take ever. And I'm like, wow, I was not expecting this, but they just happen to be really good on this issue. And so that's good. But it is very frustrating to watch people time and time again. I say this line all the time. I realize I sound like a broken record, but how many times does your government get to lie to you before your sense of skepticism kicks in? I'm genuinely curious, Warren. How many times? How many times? I mean, when the 40 beheaded baby story came out, I immediately thought incubator babies. Immediately. I was like, here we go, incubator babies. But people bought it, that hook, line, and sinker, and are still regurgitating that despite the fact that there is zero evidence to support that claim. It's crazy.
Well, they're even getting lazy in their propaganda too. Now you're starting to hear the reports of the Viagra and and the sexual assaults and stuff, just like you hear in every other thing. They say, oh, well, they do this, and then, of course, it's always proven wrong. And so their level, what we've been seeing in the last several years has just been like kind of like an onion. You're peeling back layers of propaganda, and as you go along the way, each layer you pull back, you find out that more and more people are the masks are coming off, right? I mean, yeah. I don't mean to sound biblical here, but apocalypse literally means the lifting of the veil. Right. Yeah. You're revealing who people are. So so Russiagate revealed people, right? The COVID revealed people, Ukraine revealed people. And now this conflict is revealing more and more people. So if there's any good at all that's coming out of this, is at least you're knowing who people are, or there's nowhere to hide in the rhetoric and in the propaganda anymore because it's so blatant now. Yeah.
Yes. And you're right. They are getting very lazy. I want to talk about that. We have to take a quick break and get headlines, but we're going to be right back with more here on TNT Radio.
Free speech is in our DNA. Experimental vaccines will never change that. Listen to TNT Radio anywhere you go. Yeah, even there. Never miss out on the news and views of the big issues of the day. Ask Alexa or Google to play TNT Radio or download the TNT Radio app for free from the App Store or Google Play. Today's News Talk. This is TNT Radio.
All right, we are here with my pal, Uncle Warren. And yes, thank you, TNT Radio, for actually supporting free speech, for letting people have difficult conversations that might be uncomfortable for some. It's so needed right now, and there are not very many platforms that allow you to do that. So, okay, just before we went to headlines, we were talking about the kind of lackadaisical approach that has been taken. And I think, frankly, Warren, it's because they've been able to just kind of get away with it for so long, that they've been able to control the narrative for so long that they don't even think that they have to try. And there are numerous examples of this, but George Galloway tweeted out today. He said, the foul allegations of rape have been dropped by the Israeli government. The 40 beheaded babies has been downscaled to one dead baby, not beheaded and killed by persons unknown. 2/3 of the Israelis killed on October 7th were military personnel. The killers of the remaining 1/3 are definitively revealed to have been, in part, the Israeli armed forces themselves. Those with influence who spread the propaganda to the contrary stand exposed as war criminals, and now much blood stains their character forever. It is a spot which will not out. And yeah, I mean, it seems as if every single story they have tried to sell people to justify their behavior currently has fallen apart. I mean, in spectacular fashion, Warren.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's thanks to people like you and like people in the combo couch and everybody in the space that's spreading the real news. And if they're not journalists themselves, or at least aggregating, getting journalists that no one in the normies, as I would call them, would know about, and trying to bring them into the fold too, and get more exposure for them. And that's another thing that what we have to do when I bring up the normies, the people who are not used to any of these people that are in the space that we're used to, is and then what I like to do is just tell them about it. Say, look, I know you're sick of watching, like, say, for example, MSNBC, because a lot of people I know are lefties, so they'll be watching. I say, look, it's garbage, right? You feel like you're being lied to, don't you? Don't you feel that? You're a smart person, you can detect that. And they'll tell me, yes, but what am I going to watch? Fox? And it's like, no, there's a whole world, and I feel like fucking Willy Wonka. Oops, sorry, freaking Willy Wonka. Okay. And I want to take them down the Candy River and show them all this, the lefty goodness that they're missing out on, and all this free speech, and the real news and all this stuff, and it's really hard for them to do it because, like we said, when you talk about people who want to know the truth, but really don't want to know what the truth means to them. Like you said, people are not going to do anything unless, and I'd say they're not going to do anything unless they're affected by it. And more people are starting to be affected by it with high prices, inflation. They know Joe Biden's full of crap. Bidenomics is, toilet economics, right? So, and more people are starting to figure it out. We just need them to figure it out a little more quickly, because World War III.
Especially now. I mean, there's a whole ass genocide going on. We could use some people to snap out of it, please. That would be very helpful. But yeah, there's a lot of people who have been doing unbelievable work. We have to shout out the Gray Zone. They're the ones who, I don't know that they necessarily broke the story, because it was being reported in Hebrew language media about October 7th, and about the fact that the Israeli military was killing everybody. They were making no distinction whatsoever between Hamas and civilians. They were just lighting up everybody because it was too hard, and so they just decided to kill everyone, and then they killed everyone, and then they blamed Hamas, which is totally on brand for them. But Gray Zone did a fantastic job, kind of sussing that out, of getting the information, of finding there's testimony from Israeli citizens who were at the music festival who were like, listen, they were just taking everybody out. It didn't matter. It was indiscriminate. So shout out to them. I mean, people like, obviously we have to say, like, Vanessa Beeley and Eva Bartlett, those two women. When I first started becoming sort of interested in politics, Israel-Palestine was one of the first issues that really kind of grabbed my attention. And I was very lucky in that I happened to stumble across Vanessa Beeley and Eva Bartlett very early on. So I was getting the truth very quickly. I mean, these are the two women who have lived on the ground in Gaza. They've been covering it for ages, and they are fantastic. So they're doing amazing work. Also, people like Ryan, the Last American Vagabond, Ryan Christian, I need to get him back on the show too. He's been doing fantastic work. He just did a great show where he exposed he calls it the open secret of Israel's use of human shields. Listen, if Israel accuses Hamas of doing something, guaranteed they're doing it. They are absolutely doing it. That's what they do. It's very Machiavellian. They definitely do the whole accuse your opponent of that which you are guilty of. They definitely do that. So yeah, there's just a ton of people doing amazing work, and you're right. There's just no excuse for not seeking out that information, especially on an issue that is as important as this one, right?
Well, yeah, and I guess one aspect is just like any kind of authoritarian government, they crack down on people who are like some of the Israeli citizens who are like, they say, look, they're not even bashing Israel. They're saying, look, can we just have a ceasefire? Let's stop the killing all these kids. And some people are getting arrested just for saying that. Beaten.
The Israeli military is beating Jews for daring to speak against what's happening in Gaza. That's insane. And then they want to whine about anti-Semitism. Is that not anti-Semitic, Warren, to beat up Jewish people who don't agree with you? Seems pretty anti-Semitic to me. I don't know.
But,
you know what I mean?
But Misty, that's the democracy of the Middle East. That's the that's supposed to be the model for what, the other countries to adhere to, right? To be these murderous tyrants. It's ridiculous. And I think when Joe Biden said if we didn't have an Israel, we would have had to invent one. You did invent one. You did it in 1948. I mean, he was 60 back then when it happened, so, God knows, cut him open and see how many rings he's got. Metaphorically, he's not a tree. Don't cut him open. I'm just saying the man's old and he knows that what he said was like, dude, this already happened. They didn't invent it. So anyway, I don't know. I feel bad that I haven't been as learned about this subject as I should have been. I've gotten bits and pieces over the years. And like I said, I'm still kind of evolving politically and trying to open my mind and my ears and my eyes to what's really going on, and I had no idea how horrendous things were going in Gaza, and in the West Bank too, where there is no Hamas presence and they're still getting like murdered and kicked out of their houses and stuff like that and being called terrorists. And so it's so heartbreaking. I mean, you have kids. I don't even have kids. And I'm worried about these kids over here. That's my thing. It's like, I think that's what finally got me was the kids, right?
It's killing me. It is so hard. And I read Caitlin Johnson wrote a piece about how it's difficult for her as well. Anybody who has a heart, I think, is struggling to watch what's happening right now. And I like somebody mentioned that the death toll is actually higher because there are probably thousands of people stuck under rubble. And then my brain immediately went to, Jesus, imagine babies and toddlers stuck under rubble in the dark, afraid, alone, screaming, wondering why nobody's coming to help them, and then dying of starvation. What a horrific way to die. And that is happening for so many people, not just babies and toddlers. That's just always what grabs me the most as a parent. But just human beings, innocent civilians who are just stuck in this concentration camp, had nowhere to go, and are now have just been buried under rubble. And there are probably thousands of bodies under there. And it's a devastating reality. And it's really difficult. I have to step away from it at times. Like every weekend, I have to just like shut off and like just go hang out with my kids. And even then I feel guilty for hanging out with my kids because there are many parents who are losing their kids right now, or many children who have lost their parents or whatever. It's an untenable situation. It's horrific. And it is mind blowing to me that anybody can stand by and watch this and cheer it on. It's just so repugnant. Okay, we have to take another quick break. Hang tight. We're going to be right back with more here on TNT Radio.
Misty Winston on today's News Talk Radio, TNT.
All right. We are here with my pal, Uncle Warren, and we're talking Israel, Palestine. And we were just talking about how, there's so many kids being killed. And Joe Biden said something yesterday. He was asked about this. I just want to remind everybody that over 4,500 kids so far have been murdered. That's a child every 10 minutes in Gaza has been killed. And that's just that we know of. Like we said before the break, likely the death toll is far higher, but those are the ones that we know of and that have been reported. And so over 4,500 kids, right? So Joe Biden was asked, are the retaliatory strikes working? And he said, yes, they're working in the sense that they're hitting the targets they're seeking. My guy, are you serious? 4,500 kids, Warren, and that's the targets they're seeking. At least he's being honest, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, doesn't have a track record of being like a benevolent person, so him having some sort of empathy for children, that would have been a shock if he had, right? If they can't smell their hair, Misty, then are they really children? Come on, seriously.
That's fair.
No,
that's fair.
And you know what I think why it's getting so much attention now, which is great, which a lot more people are starting to come out and in support of Palestine and these children and the innocents, like you're talking about, that are getting murdered. It's because of the technology that we've had in the last 7 to 8 years. It's you're now seeing almost a lot of times in real time. A lot of these brave people doing live streams when they have the internet and when they have the electricity to do it, and they're showing it and they're taking the videos, they're taking pictures, and they're sending it out, and it's, and I think that's the amount of information that we're getting, which overwhelms all of the propaganda, which which with propaganda you can't back it up because it's all lies. You have no proof, right? Hence it's a lie. Right. So when you have this tsunami of truth coming out of there with videos and pictures and all kinds of media and reporter, the people like you were talking about, that overwhelming information surge is what's going to turn the tide here in the world to finally maybe support Palestine once and for all.
That's such a good point, too, because it's also possible now to debunk their lies in real time, which is happening on a near daily basis. For example, Israel tweeted out 13 hours ago this video of the Indonesian hospital. And there's somebody that lifts something up into the air in this crowd of people. And they're like, see, look, they're trying to pretend as if it's a gun. They're like, see, Hamas is in the Indonesian hospital. And it's very clearly a security baton. It's a security guard who's holding a security baton up in the air. It's not a gun, but that's what they're trying to pretend that it is. But that, because we have the ability to, they tweet that out, and then people look at it and it's immediately debunked. And that's happened time and time and time again. There's so many things that they have tried to claim. The little audio clips that they've been releasing supposedly of Hamas members who were talking about all the bad things that they're doing, they're so poorly done. And it's so easy to debunk. I mean, you have people who are like, that's definitely not Hamas. Like the dialect is wrong. You know what I mean? Like it's so quick. It's happening in so fast in real time that it's almost impossible for them to maintain the narrative control, because, and I think honestly, Warren, a huge part of that is just because we have of social media. You said, it's real time. People in Gaza on the ground can real time tell us what's happening and with video evidence and everything. It seems to me that every lie that Israel has told, there's never been any evidence for it, but the things that are happening to Palestinians are well documented. You know what I'm saying? And if Israel had proof of the things that they're claiming, we would see it. They don't have it because most of these things didn't happen.
Well, yeah, they didn't have it in the quote unquote Syrian gas attacks too. Right. They couldn't prove that either. They were just like trying to use they were trying to use emotion and this this cult mentality, like, what's wrong with you? Why are you thinking for yourself on this? This is obviously what's going on. It's like, no, people are getting, like I said, this information is coming from all kinds of directions. And it's like, right, the propaganda merchants, it's like herding cats. They can't, once they whack-a-mole one and then another one pops up. It's just, there's too much truth to stop. And that's why I think the lies are starting to fall apart, because they can't focus on their narratives because they're too busy trying to debunk all the truth that's out there, and they can't do it. And it's starting to show, which is very good to see.
It is very good to see. And it's just, I mean, when we have people who are trying to do the dirty work for Israel, Ben Shapiro is a great example. For example, he made a whole video the other day where he was trying to claim that Hamas was using Gaza's water pipes that were donated by, I think, the UK maybe, or I don't know. They were given to Gaza supposedly, and that Hamas was coming and they were cutting them up in order to build rockets. And so therefore they were, taking away the water supply for the people they claim to be trying to protect. And that's not the case. And it's so disingenuous, because when Ben Shapiro made his video, he used the video in question with no audio underneath of it. And it turns out that it's actually a video, it's like a Hamas video. I don't know if it's like a Hamas sanctioned video, but it has an actual Hamas leader in the video talking about it. It is not them cutting up water pipes that are being used to give the people of Palestine water. It's water pipes that Israel is using to steal water from Palestine. So, and it's so disingenuous, but what's great is that people are able to watch him put out that video. And then there are people who are willing to do the work and look into it. And I mean, like, you can go on TikTok and there's people on TikTok out there debunking Ben Shapiro in real time. And that's what I think is the tide is definitely turned on this issue. This time feels different, Warren. I feel like in the past, we've seen this situation kind of boil up, and Israel would attack them for whatever reason. And then it would kind of calm back down and things would go back to normal. There's no going back to normal, or quote unquote normal. There's no going back at this point, I don't think, Warren.
No. I mean, yeah, it's the world has seen and heard too much. Yeah. And like we said, they can't stop this torrent of truth coming out of there anymore. So much like the West, I believe Israel, the Zionist government is in decline, and more and more people are you're going to see more violence, probably, and as with the fall here, you're going to see it over here too. What do they say? It's going to get worse before it gets better. So people need to be prepared for that. But at the same time, we don't know who else is going to get in the mix too. And that's what we need to watch out for. Like, is Iran going to get into it? And if they do, in what fashion, and like the other big players, what's China going to do? What's Russia going to do? If this was a TV show, this would be just like some, holy shit, this is some crazy ass shit. But no, this is fucking real life. So there's no producers, there's nobody controlling this shit. Like, well, there is, but you know what I mean?
Well, there is,
we don't really know what there is, but they know the outcome, but we don't, right? So it's like, what the fuck is going to happen? And you're right, this is unprecedented, especially for people our age too, who grew up without people with cell phones and stuff like that, getting footage and stuff like that. We've had to rely on the CNN and the networks, and now I haven't even watched those shows, any of those networks, in years, because I watch people like, everybody in this space, because this is where the real news is.
Yeah, I think at the most I watch clips, like other shows that I watch will feature clips from mainstream media to mock them, make fun of them, debunk what they're saying or whatever. That's the most mainstream media access that I get. I don't seek it out. Or like if I'm in an airport and I'm forced to watch it, or if I'm like getting my oil change and they have it on in the waiting room or whatever, that's the only exposure that I have to mainstream media, because it's absolute garbage. But yeah, and I think it feels different too, because I think honestly Israel is losing the PR war, which is interesting to watch that, because they have been so unbelievably good. I think other than the United States, there's nobody better at spin. There's nobody better at narrative management. I mean, look at what they've been able to do. Look at what they've been able to get away with for 75 plus years. And that is in large part due to their ability to control the narrative and to control the media, especially Western media. But I think that is desperately slipping away from them. And it's because of the social media age. It's because of independent media. It's because people are out there actually seeking out alternative information rather than, just believing whatever they're fed by Rachel Maddow and, Tucker Carlson or whoever. So I think I think it's good. I don't know if it's enough. I don't know if it's enough to save Palestine. I don't know. Probably not, unfortunately. Maybe. I don't know. I hope it is. But it seems like for sure things are moving in a very different direction. And I think that's you can also tell by watching the state of our politics. In particular, we're moving into a election year. And literally all of them are Zionist weirdos. You know what I mean? Like, they are so obsessed with, like, they head right up Israel's ass, right? All of them. I mean, it is, if you watch the GOP debate the other day, it was, who can suck up to Israel more? But that's not working. I think people are calling them out. We're seeing, especially, I think the biggest one is Robert Kennedy Jr. He, some people thought that he was promising when he first came through and said he was going to run, mostly because of his COVID positions. I was not one of those people, because I know who he is. And he is definitely, I'd like to say that he is Israel's very best bitch. He loves him some Israel. I don't know what they have on him. There's some rumors that he is Epstein affiliated, that his wife at the time hung out with Ghislaine Maxwell, that he's been on the plane and all of that stuff. So, and we know Epstein's likely a Mossad agent. So it's very likely. And Kennedy is a self-proclaimed sex addict. So it's not unlikely. I mean, this is just me speculating here. It's not unlikely that they have something very hardcore on him, but it really doesn't matter, because the result is the same. He is still, but it's funny to me, Warren, he's still today, he tweeted out, where's it at? Oh, here we go. I won't send our troops abroad for oil wars or regime change wars. Once elected, I will give veterans a formal say in shaping policies that are pro-veteran and pro-peace. My guy, you are not pro-peace. That is absurd.
Yeah, he's definitely not pro-peace. I don't know how far back the Israel Kennedy connection goes with that family too. You know, there's whispers in the wind that they had something to do with JFK's demise, and I don't know about that, but I'm just saying, you know, those usually are kind of interlinked too. And I'm like you. When I heard two things, when I heard I'm a diehard Democrat, and that I'm beholden or whatever, I love Israel, and I was like, no, dude, that's just two strikes. No, I'm not even waiting for the third strike. Those are two big strikes. That's like 4 strikes. Fuck you. Get out and take your hate shit with you. I'm sorry. I'm getting emotional. But
it's
anyway,
all right. It's all right.
Yeah, it does the whole thing. It's like, that's why we're trying to do a lot of comedy on the side here to try to distract a little bit, but we can't distract people away from knowing the truth, because the people have to know this, as terrible as it is. They have to know what's going on over there, and we have to keep saying it. We have to be consistent and call out people like RFK and all these clowns that are basically warmongers, even if they're trying to hide it. They're all warmongers.
Yeah, they definitely are. They're all in the pocket of the military industrial complex. And if anybody wants more information about the Kennedy, Epstein, Mossad stuff, funnily enough, it's not a source I would usually be citing, but Candace Owens did a pretty good video on this the other day. I'm not a huge fan of hers. I think she does some good stuff. There's some things that I will say she was really funny. She was at an event and somebody said, how do you feel about all the trans students who were at this event who feel threatened by your presence? And she was like, man, life's tough. Get a helmet. And it was just funny. The way that she said it, it made me laugh. She's like, I'm too pregnant for this. And I was like, that's great. Like, that was great. It was just funny. But yeah, she did a really good video about the Epstein, Kennedy, Mossad agent connection stuff. Also, obviously, anything Jeffrey Epstein related, Whitney Webb. That is your girl. So yeah, I just think it was very frustrating to me to see so many people who were supporting him when people brought up Israel-Palestine, that they would dismiss it as, well, it's just one issue. It's not one issue. Look it, y'all. You really think this is one issue? It is so intertwined with so many things, including COVID, by the way. You don't think Israel had a huge hand in the COVID development of vaccines and all of that stuff? Like, of course they do. Right. It has a huge impact on global geopolitics, Iran, Syria, Lebanon, the whole thing, the whole shebang. But police brutality, you care about police brutality? Guess who trains our cops? Israel. So it's just the idea that people were so dismissive of this. Forget the fact that they were dismissive of it. It's a genocide. I mean, it's an ongoing slow motion genocide, and they were willing to just like brush it off. But then to pretend as if it was just one issue from people who I thought knew better. That was really disappointing and depressing, but a lot of those people have since come around, which is good. And I'm not going to hold any grudges on that. I'm going to, just kind of let it go. If you've come around by now, okay, good. If you still haven't come around, I'm pretty much done. Like, there's just, I can't be friends with or get on board with those who support the genocide of Palestine. It's just not, it's like oil and water. We can't hang. You can't sit with us. Well, all right.
The sand and the line in the sand. Exactly.
Yes. I think genocide's a pretty solid line to put in the sand.
Yeah, definitely.
a pretty good one. All right, Warren, we are unfortunately out of time. Tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find your work, all that good stuff.
The easiest thing, just go to my link tree /extra bulla. That's EXTRABULLA. I can't even say my own name. But yeah, all my stuff's there, and I'm W Dearman on Twitter, and Secret Show Saturday nights at midnight Eastern, and that's where you can find me and all my goodies.
Yeah. So, and also the link tree is on it, since he couldn't spell it. The link tree is on the Twitter page. So it's W Dearman, DEARMAN.
I promise I can spell. I just couldn't spell in that particular moment. Why are you being anxious, Misty, Mindy, whatever the hell your name is?
Oh, see, this is why I wanted to have you on. You make me laugh. All right. I love you. Thank you for coming on. I will have you back soon. We got to get you your sandwich. Everybody have a great weekend. I'll be back with a whole host of new shows. As Julian Assange says, learn, challenge, act now, and do not go anywhere. Timothy Shea is right after this on TNT Radio.